In this week's television spotlight, we have some comedy, some reality television, some drama, pretty much everything you need to enjoy a good night of television at home on DVD. First up, we have Scrubs, the complete ninth and final season, and this is kind of the pseudo Scrubs, or the aftermath of Scrubs, if you will, in which basically a handful of characters from the original Scrubs series, the first 8 years, sort of carried over into a medical school setting, and we got introduced to a whole new cast of lovable yet wacky doctors in training. And actually, while the show wasn't as good as it was during the original run, I have to say that I enjoyed the ninth season of Scrubs quite a bit. It's a lot of fun. It's different, but it still sort of has that same sort of Scrubs-isms that you enjoyed in the original series run. Now, there are some parts of it that don't work. The two security guards in the golf cart are an attempt to recreate the humor of the janitor, and it really doesn't work at all. But Dr. Cox is there, and JD shows up for the first 6 or 7 episodes, and Dr. Elliot shows up for a handful of episodes. Almost all of the cast makes appearances in a handful of episodes. So you really do kind of get the feeling of sort of the Scrubs cast passing the torch. And it's a really enjoyable season as long as you're not trying to compare it to the height of the best of Scrubs quality. So this is pretty much the last season you're going to get on DVD, and as such, of course, there are a number of bonus features, including a featurette called Scrubbing In, all about how the show transitioned to the new format, some deleted scenes with intros and explanations by the show's creator, Bill Lawrence, a collection of bloopers, and a live from the golf cart featurette, which, of course, isn't my favorite because I wasn't huge fan of the golf cart security guards. But that being said, Scrubs, if you stopped watching it when they changed the format of the show, I do recommend it. It is actually still quite a bit of fun to watch. Next up, we have a little box of butters from Comedy Central and South Park. And this is basically a little box set of 13 episodes, all featuring Butters, and the character on South Park who's become sort of a cult favorite, if you will. He's the sort of slightly effeminate, has a lot of bad luck character that all the other South Park kids pick on a lot. Now, I've never been a huge fan of South Park, and that's pretty clear in most of my reviews, but I always come back to revisit it because I know they do these really great pop culture parodies, and I know that their humor is very timeliness, so I always come back to revisit it just to see what it's all about, and I generally find that it's just still not that funny of a show. There's a few moments here and there that make me laugh, and I do find Butters to be one of the more tolerable characters on the show. He certainly is more tolerable than, say, Cartman, who's usually tormenting him in the show. But overall, I can't get into the show at all. But what you get in this box set, which is designed to look sort of like a elementary school pencil box, you get 13 episodes, which have been remastered, and you get a trivia game all about Butters. And then there's some goodies in the box itself, including a lost chapter of a story by Butters, a What Would Butters Do bracelet, like the very popular Livestrong bracelets, that kind of rubber bracelet, a Pimpin' necklace, which is basically, well, I can't say what it says on it, but it's a Butters-themed necklace, an Inspector Butters badge, and a few other little goodies in there. So this is a good kind of fun set for somebody who likes South Park but isn't collecting every single season of it. But if you're a season collector, then the goodies in here are kind of a fun bonus, but not necessarily worth spending your money on unless you just really need to have all your Butters episodes in one place. Next up, also from Comedy Central, we have Ugly Americans and Volume 1. And this is a sort of horror comedy animated series, if you will, although I use the term comedy loosely. Basically, it's an animated series that sort of tries to do like a Office Space or The Office sort of approach in an animated world in which vampires, werewolves, zombies, and Frankenstein monsters are commonplace, which is a great concept for a show. Unfortunately, the show is actually pretty terrible. I know there's a core audience out there for the show. I know there are people out there who will love this show, and I am just not one of those people. I could barely sit through a single episode of this show. Trying to watch more than a couple was quite a chore for me. It's just not funny. I know that a lot of it is what's considered funny nowadays. There's a lot of vulgar humor and jokes about monster hookers and all these things, and so I think if you like stuff like that, you might enjoy the show. But I have to say, for me, this one was a big waste of time. You do get some special features on the set, including original webisodes, a sneak preview, an audio commentary, and some art galleries. And there's actually, the coolest part about the DVD is there's a cool little booklet on the inside that is sort of a guide to the characters and the monsters in the show. And that's actually a lot of fun, but once you watch the show, the fun from that pretty much disappears, in my opinion. Next up, switching gears completely, we have Falcon Crest, the complete second season. Now, the first season of Falcon Crest came out on DVD a year or so ago through Warner Brothers, and it was available in stores. This episode has only been released through the Warner Archive program, which is Warner's sort of create-to-own website where you use special order discs, and they print them especially for you with full packaging and artwork. It's a really great program for things like Falcon Crest, which I'm assuming didn't sell enough copies of Season 1 in storefronts, but this way fans can still complete their collections. So this second season is 22 episodes of typical 80s melodrama. This is back when the cast was, I think, at its strongest with Jane Wyman and Susan Sullivan, the show sort of went through a major cast shift about halfway through its run. They brought a lot of new blood into it, and kind of a lot of the old people from the show sort of moved on. And those episodes are fine too, but I think the earliest episodes are the best ones. Now, I say the best. I don't think Falcon Crest is the greatest show in the world. It certainly is a good show for its time. It is what it is, basically. If you like that sort of 80s soapy melodrama, Dallas, Dynasty, Knots Landing, that type of thing, then Falcon Crest is definitely for you. I really don't think this is a set that will appeal to anybody who isn't already a fan of the show. But if you are one, hey, great, you can at least get the next season without having to wait for Warner to put it on store shelves, which may never happen. And since it's been released through the Warner Archive, obviously probably never will happen. There are no extra features. That's pretty standard for the Warner Archive releases, but you do get every episode on a 6-disc set in a nice case, so really what more can you ask for? Finally, from the BBC, we have Top Gear 13. Top Gear is the extremely popular sort of car adventure show from the BBC, in which they take these exotic cars and kind of put them through just some ridiculous tests and all the paces, and they really do some crazy stuff with them. So sort of stunts. It's almost in a way like a car version of Jackass. I don't think that's an entirely accurate description, but this really is more than just a car show. That being said, I think if you have some interest in cars whatsoever, it does help, as I have found the show interesting enough to watch, but not something that I consider a favorite. I won't go out of my way to watch it. I enjoy getting the DVDs. I can take a look at them, watch some of the episodes, have a pretty good time with it. I enjoy the kind of cheesy mystery of the character, the Stig, which is their sort of mystery driver. But it's not a show that I'm going to go out of my way to own personally. However, if you're a car enthusiast, this is something different from the norm, which I do think is good, and I do think people will like. In this collection, the DVD extras include a Stig POV feature, a featurette called Spitfire Magic, an extended interview with Brian Johnson, an extended interview with Jensen Button, a Lamborghini run in Abu Dhabi. I'm not going to try and pronounce the name of the Lamborghini. A train race sequence with JC, and a slow motion feature with Ken Block. So a pretty good amount of special features, which is nice because the Top Gear releases can kind of waver back and forth between having a ton of extras and not having any extras whatsoever. So if you like the show, the set is definitely worth picking up. So there you have it, a little bit of everything. Hopefully there's something in there for you to enjoy.